He knew I wanted to write. He knew that from day one. And I told him I didn't have time because I worked a part-time job to come here. And he said, go home and do something for the Exponent, which was the magazine here at the University of Dayton at the time. So I must tell you, you sort of slide things under the door and wait until the great critic comments on it. And he saw me one day outside of the cafeteria, and he said 3 words to me. That's all, just 3 words. It was to sustain me for the rest of my life, I think. He looked at me and he said, you can write.
When Brother Tom Price was looking at her work and said the famous words to her, you can write. And then that kind of, it was like opening the dam, so to speak. Words just came out of her. She wrote for the local papers. She wrote for the Kettering Oakwood Times. She wrote for the Dayton Journal Herald. She wrote for a lot of little neighborhood groups. She wrote every chance she could. And her work eventually got caught on by the national world, and it went syndicated, went into 900 papers. You know, she had to do it, I think. It was just who she was. You know, it was, once she got that initial encouragement from Brother Price, she was on the racetrack. Erma was from Dayton, from the Dayton area. She grew up here, born in 1927, and spent most of her life in the area. She was just a phenomenon unto herself. There's never been anybody quite like Erma. And she was known to everybody as just Erma. Erma was everybody's friend. She was everyone's soul sister. Everybody felt they knew Erma. And they did pretty much, because she laid her life out for everybody to see. And she told us about what life was like in suburbia for women in the 1960s through the 1990s. You know, she wrote mainly humor. And it was humor that was accessible to everyone, because it was humor that happened in everybody's lives, but they might not recognize it until they saw it written on the page or in the newspaper column. Because funny things happen to us all the time, but we have to be out on the lookout for them. And she was the one that focused our attention on the funny things that happen in a family. Things that at the moment seem like craziness and driving you nuts. But when you look back at them, you think, that was really funny. And by having somebody point out what was happening in your family through what was happening in her family, it gave women kind of permission to smile more at their kids, to laugh at what they're doing, to realize that those moments will come and pass, and what will be left behind would be wonderful memories of their childhood. You know, that's a real gift. That's a literary gift. And she was able to make all of us more appreciative of our lives and the people who peopled our lives, especially those little bitty ones that can drive you crazy at times. But with her viewpoint, you saw the charm in your kids. And she was just a wonderful asset to our community. And we knew her so well because you'd see her in the grocery store, or you'd see her at church, or you'd see her at the soccer games or whatever. She was one of us here in the Dayton community, and it made us proud of her. And the fact that she was known all across the country and through Canada. You know, she was in 900 newspapers, and she was on the Good Morning America show for years.
He shuffled over to the refrigerator and opened both doors wide. Then he just stood there for 20 minutes like he was awaiting the second coming. Could I help, or are you just browsing, I asked.
And she was just in our homes. And as we thought, she was probably peeking over our shoulders oftentimes, because the things that she wrote, we said, oh yeah, that was going on in my house too. You know, and I think it made better writers of all of us, because we found ourselves writing more to our relatives, friends and tell them about the things that were going on in our family, because she gave us permission to laugh at the antics that we saw all around us. She let women feel valued in their home because they were doing important work for the culture, not just their own family, but for the whole culture, our country. The important thing about her humor to remember, it was never mean-spirited. She never poked fun at other people. She was never crude or rude. I think what she would want, and certainly what I would want, is for people to appreciate where they are in any particular moment. And if it's in the middle of chaos in your family, find the goodness that's there. And she had an interesting quote once about when dire things happen, that's when you should really look for the humor, because that is what will give you strength to get through those moments. And I think it's important to realize that we do have within us the power of strength. We just need to call upon it, and humor is one of those ways to do that.